Hi there, and welcome to my beginner's guide for Terraformers. I'm Icon, and in this video I'm going to guide you through everything you need to know to enjoy this game. As usual, you will find the timestamps for this one in the description box below. And please keep in mind that this video has been made with an early access version of this game. While the time passes, this video will sadly be outdated, and when the game's expansion has hit a certain point, I'll redo this video, of course. Feel free to drop me a comment if you feel like there's so much new stuff that this video really needs a redo. With that out of the way, let's get started with a quick summary about the game itself. Terraformers is a turn-based strategy game where your job is to colonize and terraform Mars. In detail, this means you have to rack up a certain amount of victory points, which you can rack up by doing different things. It depends also on the scenario that you play in that regard. But generally said, the more resources you gain, the better you terraform the planet, the happier you make your population, the more victory points you gain, and once you have this meter full, you've won your current session, and you'll unlock some new stuff, and you're getting the permittance to play an even harder scenario. It's a pretty fun thing. I'm enjoying myself a lot there, especially since everything builds up on each stage very well, and it didn't give me that typical roguelite feeling where I was like, ugh, I can't win this game without unlocking stuff. No, it's the other way around. You win the game with the stuff you got, and then you get a harder scenario which you're supposed to win with the new tools you got. That's a pretty rewarding and nice done system, and it's already very much fun in it. So with that out of the way, let's get into the global screen and what we see here. So this is, you already guessed it, I guess, Mars. This here in the center, this is what you see when you're looking at one of your cities. Clicking it gets you into the city screen, all these grids here, and what you see here, I'll explain that in the cities chapter. And those nodes around there are sites of interest that we can scout out later. The bold outlines are different bigger regions. This is the Tharsis region, this is the Amazonas region, and the more you explore there, you'll also get the name tags for these. More about regions and what impact they have into the game will be found in the terraforming section. Now, over here, I already named it here. That's the victory meter, and that's the support meter. Like I already said, if this bar is full, you win. If this bar hits 0, you lose. That's for now all we need to know. Over here we have our resources. There's all manner of different resources. We'll need those to build new stuff, in short. You also have here your trade routes, but right now we don't have any trade routes open, so we can't use them yet, but here you see how many you got. Down here are your current projects that you have on your hand. It's basically the buildings that you can build. Buildings can be built inside of cities, on the map, or even in space. It depends really on the project that you research. Only stuff that goes onto the planet or into the city goes in your hand. Interplanetary projects have their own symbols here, somewhere next to the resources. Over here we have our terraforming progression. That's temperature, oxygen, sea level, and atmosphere. And down here, you see those numbers, 0 of 30. That means once we gain 30 points of heat, we have gained the next level. And each of these levels gives you not only victory points, but all manner of different things that influence the well-being of your people. More about that in the cities chapter. Down here, we see our current leader. Leaders are, because we live in a democratic terraforming situation, are elected for a short period of time, a couple of turns. I don't know the exact number, sadly. And they always come with 2 active skills. That exploration skill is on every leader. Every leader has 2 different active skills here. This guy here, because his expertise is farming, can just magic food out of the air. And he can also convert a water deposit into an ocean. This will raise your sea level terraforming score. Each leader can use his skill once per turn, and I'd highly recommend you to use this once per turn. For example, this guy here, if you don't want to explore, you can at least science out some food per turn. Exploration is pretty easy. You just use this skill here, and then you can explore one of those connected nodes. You see here hovering the energy costs for that, and whenever you do this, we get a little bit of a readout of what we found there. You also graze off some resources there, and then you unlock the connected nodes there, and then you can discover them in the next turn as well. So every grid that's going further away from your city will cost more energy to be explored. And as you see here, we start out with 50 energy, but we have literally no income of nothing whatsoever. And your energy is a valuable resource, so use it wisely. I highly recommend you, though, that really try to make good use of your leaders. They are very, very powerful tools. And you see here those icons here? These give you a hint about what kind of resource you'll most likely find there. And here on this node, you see that we found a titanium deposit. When we click this, it shows you that you can build a mine, but we can't yet because we haven't expanded to this location yet. So expansion and the like, we're going to explore that during the city phase. So that's what we see here on the global screen. Down here, you see how much, you see the next turn button, and well, let's go into the next turn. Every turn's new beginning, you have the option to research a new project, and you see here, that's the costs of the projects, and that's what the projects will bring you. Here, a greenhouse farm, I already got one of those on my hands, so I don't want to play one of these. A tritium thermal generator would bring me power. A laboratory would bring me science points. So none of these are actually really achievable in the next time for me, so I'll just go for one that I like. You can also opt out to pick up one and just gain 1 point of science instead. You can store on your hand up to 8 research projects per turn, and you don't need to select immediately. You can also X out here, check out what you want to do, explore first, and maybe you want to fell your decision later after you have checked out what kind of resources you found on your next tile. For example, it's just well, I could just explore here and check it out, but actually I want to use the food skill this turn. But all in all, that's the basics about how you use your global screen. There's a couple of other things that we can do and will do with that, but more about that later. Next up, I want to introduce you to the cities screen and talk a little bit about how cities work in detail. First off, I want to science out some food out of thin air. Poof. And let's get into our city here. So here you see that grid. Each of these bubbles here is a spot where you can put down a building at. Each building can be moved, but relocating takes 2 turns, and it disables the production of this building for the remaining time. But you can relocate everything for no real cost. So let's build up a greenhouse farm here to get some food income. And let's build up a habitation module right next to that. Habitation modules produce something else than the other things here. For example, here, this just produces food, and it's very easily understood. Every one of these, most of these buildings either produce some resource, population, or robots, or support. And population is something special and something very, very valuable in this game. Only when you build population, you're allowed to expand your city. And you see those nodes here up above the city? This is your maximum building capacity. This bar here will only get new blobs when you increase the amount of population in there. That's more important to know. And for every unit of population, you also gain here expansion slots. When you click that, you're allowed to expand to any connected explored tile. So let's do that. Click there, and now we're allowed to build that mine Boom, just like that. And now you see we also have a titanium income. So expanding your population is extremely important to gain grasp of new regions. That's the first thing. The next thing I want to talk about is what do cities provide to you except for offering sites to produce resources at and gather population at. So first off, population will produce support for you. Each unit of population will produce as much support as there is comfort of living in the city. Comfort of living, as you see here, is depending on different factors. For one, this place is freezing cold, as you see here, -1 temperature. This reduces the comfort of living here in the city. But luckily, we got some radiation protection for free. This is because the city is built inside of a crater. So the comfort of living is 1. That means every unit of population will you produce 1 point of support. That's a pretty strong statistic, because you gotta see like that. If you have 4 or 5 units of population in your city and you raise the comfort of living by just 2 points, you'll increase your support income by 8 or 10 points per turn. So this is a really, really powerful stat, and it's going to be on several projects in the future. So that's also very important. Why? To keep in mind that some buildings, like the tritium thermogenerator, are unattractive for the population. You see here, adjacent population provides -1 support per turn. So there is negative impact on that as one. Some buildings as well. Some buildings outright, flat out reduce the comfort of living in the entire city. So you have to counteract these. But there's lots of other buildings that you can use to increase the comfort of living in your city yet again. Some cities also have piles of rubble that have to be removed for energy. Some other city spots also come with, I don't know, something like a anomaly that increases the income of laboratories that you plot down there. There's a lot of different things that can and will happen during your explorations of different areas. So that's roughly how cities work. You now know that you have to work for your population and that the comfort of living is a very, very important stat. But what's also really important to note here is that there's also the option to build robots. Robots are just like population. They offer you expansion slots, they offer your city more room, but they don't produce support because they don't really have any opinion. So therefore, robots are really good for quick expansion, but they are really not that good to gain a higher support income. So that's pretty much all you need to know to get a city going. Plotting down these things and exploring how those project cards work is really a lot of the fun in this game, and I don't want to spoiler here too much. It's just important for you to know that with these cards come more and more different combo options. There are enhancing buildings, there are different combinations of producers, and so on and so forth. But enough about that. Let's get into the importance of balancing out your support versus your victory point income. I just want to talk about that in a few sentences, and then we're going to talk about trade. So it's really important that you work on increasing your support in this game. Whenever you do stuff, keep in mind that increasing the support for your population is an extremely valuable resource, and it's basically like your HP. And the more complacent you grow, the less you do per turn, the more this death clock will work against you. So keep that in mind, that everything you can do to winch out a little bit more support out of your cities is really valuable and worth the effort. And if you manage to be on a plus income for a while, wonderful, maintain it, because the game has another nasty metric. The longer your game goes, the more turns you take, the higher the expectations of the people will grow, and the more minus income you will rack up, and therefore every one of your sessions has a finite amount of turns. You can artificially increase the amount of turns you got by increasing the support, but it's really important that you don't lose your goals out of the other goals out of your eyes. But as you see here, support income provides directly victory points, so it's always worth going for that. So the next thing I want to talk about is terraforming. So let's fast forward this save file a little bit to give you access to terraforming. Oh, wait a sec, I'm getting ahead of myself. Just wanted to talk about trade for a second. So trade is another thing that comes in after a while. You see here one trade route, and the thing here is you always need to decide which product you export, so here, and which product you in return want to import. So let's import silicates for example. So I'm exporting now my titanium income, and I'm importing silicates from Earth. There are buildings which provide extra trade routes, and there are also extra methods that what you can do with trade routes extra, and so on and so forth. Later you'll use your trade routes to provide resources for the construction of space projects. So you will use your trade routes for a lot of things. In a nutshell, use trade to acquire the resources you don't have access to right now, because this is your power tool to acquire stuff that you need in the near future. There's no real other way for you to acquire resources in the early game that you don't have access to, because finding a mineable resource income somewhere else is really hard deal. And yeah, my personal recommendation is use this to gain access to the projects that you want to build, but you don't have the resources right now. For example, here, I'd right now import goods until I have enough silicates to build a laboratory, or I could import tritium to build that thermal generator. Use those trade routes to cover up your weaknesses, but now we're going to do the fast forward I was talking about, and then we're going to go into terraforming, but this planet needs to be a little bit more advanced for that. Now, we're back. So, I've explored this planet a little bit more thoroughly, expanded the city of New Tunis a bit, and we have now access to terraforming. After a while, you will get a event which tells you, hey, we got life forms to spread on this planet. First off, each of these life forms that you get, look like that, have a minimum requirement. Before you accept any life form, tell the event to be postponed. You can reactivate it here next to your next turn button, and check out what the temperature in your home region is. So here in Tharsis, it's -1. You can check it out here as well. So temperature in Tharsis, and you see there's also a different temperature in Amazonas, and a different temperature in Borealis Major. So when you get your first offer, postpone it, check out what you can successfully hold there, because it's really important. So the next thing you'll need there, for example, the first life form here is a bacterium. You also get a bacteria spreader. As you see here, the card for the bacteria spreader is a red one. That means it can't be placed down in a city. It needs to be placed down on a tile on the map. Here's a couple of things worth mentioning. First off, you can place these on map tiles where you can also build cities at. So, for example, this is a tile where we're going to build a city later on, and you can build them basically on every tile, but there's only one thing worth knowing. There can be only one thing at a tile at once, so there can be only one mine, one lookout tower, whatever. So we're building that bacteria spreader now, and now it's really important that you manage to build that spreader also in the correct region. So if you want to have the bacteria spread in Tharsis, you need to build the spreader also in Tharsis, and then you'll just click here, select what kind of bacteria you want to spread, and now you get to select the climate zone. Oh, whoops, sorry, you don't need to build it in the same region. That was my bad. So you can now spread it over to Tharsis because it has the right requisites. That's that. Doesn't make my statement less valid. You'll have to check out that you have a region in your vicinity that has the correct requisites for your bacteria, otherwise it's going to be a bummer. So what do these things do, you might ask yourself? So first off, you see here it provides 1 point of heat per turn and 1 prestige per turn. Prestige is just something you need for racking up more victory points with, and for a different game mode it is more important. But that's one method of doing terraforming. Now you see those bacteria will slowly increase the temperature. There can be per region always only 1 bacterium. Later you'll get plants and animals too, so every region has 1 slot for these basically. You can have 1 bacterium, 1 animal, 1 plant per region. It's a little bit abstract, but that's how it is. And you can increase these scores, of course, differently as well. So I've already planted up some buildings here. So for example, there is an oxygen factory. If you put that up in one of your cities, it'll provide 1 point of atmosphere and 1 point of oxygen. Those are these meters here. So let's put it up here. And that's that. I also would have access to a gas factory, which would provide just flat out atmosphere, and there are different providers for different terraforming points there. And whenever you reach one of those thresholds, congratulations, you have reached another level on your terraforming bar. Every one of these can be increased 3 times up to level 3. And every breakthrough here gives you points on the terraforming steps meter. Also quite important and interesting to know, for example, if you increase the atmosphere, you'll increase the radiation protection. If you increase the radiation protection, you increase the comfort of every city on the planet, because these are global meters. Also, every breakthrough in the oxygen region increases also the comfort of living, because there's all of a sudden more oxygen, and so on and so forth. Temperature is most needed for comfort of living, but also for different life forms. And since everything here is very connected with each other, you'll get behind it in no time what I'm talking about once you start playing around with it. I merely found the system of spreading bacteria and the like a little bit confusing, and like I said, check out how the region's flora and fauna is, and then check out if you can bring it there or not. As you see here, there's also a little bit more mechanics behind prestige and a lot of other things that I've mentioned, but check out the tooltips. I'm only here to show you around, that you know how to play the game by yourself. So the last step that I want to show you here is now building new cities. New cities can only be built on certain regions. Whenever a region is eligible, it'll look like that when you click it. If it's not eligible, it'll look like that. What's also important to build a city somewhere, all surrounding tiles must be explored, and then you can't just found a city for the meager price of a little bit of water and food. And after that, you have access to a new city just like the other one. Keep in mind though that every tile that one city has occupied can't be occupied by another city. So that means you'll have to take care that your cities don't compete with each other. Why is that important, you might ask yourself? Because they are all just giving you resources into a global pool. Some upgrades do, for example, give you a bonus in height of all the connected mines to one city, for example. So it can be really interesting all of a sudden to have a lot of cities, a lot of mines connected to one city. And I think you get the idea. So I'll just fast forward here for a moment to show you how the cities are being built, and then we are pretty much at the end of our wonderful little video here. So what I want to leave you here are a couple of tips and tricks and thoughts about the game here. So for example, here you have one that requires temperature and the other one requires oxygen. You can't put this up if you have not at least one point of oxygen. So some thoughts of mine. Exploration in this game is extremely powerful, and you really can't have too much of it. So here's a new city. You get them a new color, and then you get to place down a new headquarters, and then you have the same thing as you have here. The only difference is they are connected to a different grid there. And if you put down new buildings there, you get new building accesses there. That's pretty much all you'll have to know about that. So a couple of tips and tricks. Explore a lot. Exploration yields a lot of resources. Exploration is, in my humble opinion, your most valuable source of resources in the early game, because early game you don't have too much income there in any regard, and it's quite powerful. The more exploration you can do, the more income you got. The other thing is expand towards sites where you can just go for any resource income. Resource income is extremely valuable. Every form of resource income that you can hamster in is extremely powerful. And the best part is, mines don't cost you anything. They just do their thing and keep doing that for literally almost no cost at all. So therefore, it's really powerful to just grab whatever resource income you can get, because they give you victory points flat out. And the more income of something you got, the more trade you can do, the more everything you can do. Another really important thing is, don't expand blindly. Don't just use these points because they're open. There's nothing worse to go for than just expand somewhere because you have the feeling you have to, because there's just something you need to do. And therefore, really, just expand when there's something to grab. So when you want to build something, go for the expansion, and not before that. Also, wherever you build something, try to think about specializing beforehand. There's a lot of things in this game that provide you bonuses if you specialize. For example, there are buildings that give you bonuses when you put a lot of residential population buildings together, or when you put a lot of science buildings together, a lot of food buildings together, and so on and so forth. So that means you can specialize your cities, and it's really worth doing so. And beyond that, explore the game, have fun with it. I really enjoyed myself here a lot. And if there are any questions, drop them down into the box and let me know what you guys think. By the way, every game you win or lose gives you meta progression. You will unlock new cards, new buildings, and new scenarios, so you won't be sitting on the same stuff every time, and winning a game really gets you somewhere. So leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed that game, and of course consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. There's daily content coming up from my side. So have a good one and see you soon. Bye bye.